inspired to push through. Because there's a spark in you. Breakthrough or bust. Hello, welcome back to Breakthrough or Bust. I am so happy you are here. And I am also very happy we have Judy O here. Judy, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. This is exciting.
Yay! Absolutely. Judy, tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I work with basically I work with women who are following their soul's calling, and looking for entrepreneurial success. And when you're following your soul's calling, it's not the same as having your typical business plan where you're just going to execute and get the results that you expect. So working with astrology, both Western and Chinese astrology, numerology, feng shui, and that all incorporated with my intuition and years in business. It all gets interwoven into one-on-one consultations and strategic planning sessions. And then I also have some training programs that work with increasing your productivity and getting in the flow and manifesting and creating your own vision. So
I love it. I love it.
That's my package.
Anyone who knows me knows you're totally speaking my language. I love it so much. So, as is the tradition here on Breakthrough or Bust, we come together to share stories. And so, Judy, tell us, where does your story begin? Well, the story you're going to share today. We have breakthrough stories, but
well, I think part of your story begins because there's little stories and snippets when you're growing up, right? And I remember a time when I was probably a young teenager, and it was like feeling frustrated because like, how much power do I have over my life? And can I really be anything I want to be? And can I create whatever I want to create? Well, not to that level at that time, but it's like, if I put my mind to it, what could I make come true, kind of thing. So I think that's always been there in the background. Like the story I'm going to share is more about once I got into I was involved in network marketing, so I knew I wanted to be a traditional stay-at-home mom and raise my kids, and then have my business basically as a side gig to raising my young family. And but it wasn't I expected great things of myself, and I expected great things very quickly.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you started at that teenage phase. And as teenagers, we all wake up to the injustices in the world and we're horrified, right? And we want to fix it all, and we want to shout from the rooftops, and we get stifled.
And I want it my way.
Yeah. Well, we're like, be quiet, go get in your seat, right? And no, you're not going to do that, right? No. And that can be a big part of the beginning for a lot of people, of that worthiness. Who am I? Who am I to change the world? And I love that you started there, because that is probably such a pivot point for so many.
Yeah, and I think it is, how much power do we have, and how much power should we exude? Because we've all had moments when we've exuded our power in inappropriate ways.
It's all part of the learning curve.
It hasn't necessarily worked in our favor. Yeah. Right? And vice versa. There's also times when we don't exert our power, or we tame it down in order to, if you want to say, keep the peace, and and fit in. Yeah. And I would say one of the challenges, I mean, not back then, but certainly moving into having some ideas a little bit ahead of the times, and working with the metaphysics, and trying to bring it into kind of mainstream life, like it's it's not for the faint of heart.
No, and like, let's get kind of real about it. So now it's becoming a little bit more of a mainstream topic where there is a little bit of support. But, I mean, even 10 years ago, people were
Sorry, I was
quiet.
on my computer.
Oh, no, you're okay. People were quiet about all those alternative things. So if they were into it, they were quiet. They were hiding and being secretive about it, because the people who did speak about it were basically the people saying you're going to hell. This is devil stuff, or you know what I mean? And so yeah, and so when you feel aligned to something like that, it can immediately make you think, oh, well, the world is not going want to hear from me.
Yeah, and it's a journey, like you're on your own journey of discovery, right? You're on your own journey of discovery of yourself. You're on your own journey of discovery of being in business for yourself, in whichever form you do it, whether it's in direct sales and network marketing, which was more what it was back then, or just as your own entrepreneur, or even as a practice, as a, I work with a lot of holistic practitioners, and there's a whole group of us, like basically, we were part of a wave of educating people so that they knew that these other options, existed, and exist. And now we're at a point now where people are starting to, well, it's more, a lot of things are more mainstream now, right? Like, Reiki isn't such a weird word anymore. And, massage therapy and even things like hypnotherapy and things like that, they're not so out there anymore.
Yeah.
People have come to recognize them for the value that they have.
Yeah. No, and I like that. And all these thoughts swirling. I think about, how you talk about the MLM, and there can again be really negative public opinion when it comes to doing something like that. And at the same time, I always say, when a woman wants financial independence, we should celebrate her. I celebrate her, and I don't care how it comes. That financial independence means choices. Choices means freedom, to never be stuck in a bad situation or whatever. And so many women are doing that through having their own businesses or MLMs or things like that, so that they can have financial freedom, but then also be a mother, right? Because that's important to them. And I think it really has to go back to that programming, right? We all have this programming. So many people have this social programming that says what to think, what to believe, how to behave, and when we deviate from that programming, then people don't approve. But I think that's such an important lesson of, so what? Who cares? Too bad if you don't approve, right?
Yeah, and with that comes a lot of lessons, right? Like, who do you talk to? Like, who in early days, you're trying to sell to everybody. And then you wisen up and you say, now that what, there are some people, like, some do, some don't, so what? Like, you do finally get to that point. But in early days, and I think too, if you've come from mainstream business, and then parenthood is one growth and one chapter, and the difference between your reputation you have at work when in corporate or whatever mainstream business. So you've got that change within yourself for being mom, and then doing a whole new learning curve. You got a learning curve with the motherhood and a learning curve with the business. And I think what appealed for the network marketing in the early days is because it has a structure to it. So you're not creating a business structure. The structure is already there. So that's and I think a lot of it too is the relationships that you build, and a lot of the network marketing businesses do a lot with personal development, right? Because they know that's the only way. I mean, you're in it for growth, right? And so that was in early days, that was my introduction to Les Brown and Bob Proctor and all those guys. And and just some of the ideas of, the way we think and what we achieve from the way we think and don't think.
Yeah. And just not letting public opinion shut you down, because people are going to think what they want to think. And that's more of a reflection of them, not of you. But as soon as you own that, as soon as you let them put that on you, then it does become about you.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of the journey for many of us, right? Is being able to, and what's really nice is, like, from a cosmic point of view, we're moving towards happiness, and we're moving towards fulfillment, and we're moving towards individuality for the good of many. Right. And it's like, so owning you, there's never been a better time to start owning your uniqueness. Right?
Yes.
Like it's a sweet time. This is where we're at now. It's time to own your uniqueness and your own way of doing things.
Yes.
Excuse me. There's always going to be systems in place, and there's always going to be, social protocol and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's, that's what makes you stand out from the crowd, and really owning, like, one of the things I would say is this whole piece of, like, really owning the subtleties of yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what is, it could be something as simple as what your morning routine is can make the difference between a right client or a not right client, or if you're building a team, like, if you get back to the network marketing, if you're building a team, like, if you've got a group of people that you're working with and they're all night owls and vice versa, you're the opposite, then it's not going to work for you. What are the age of your kids when you're doing that? What kind of support do you have? What are your strengths and things like that? I think they all play a really big role.
Nice. I love it. Can you share a time or a situation where you were learning that maybe you weren't owning your individuality just yet, or owning your processes somewhere along the way?
I don't know that I can say there was a time, but what I can say is there was definitely a part of my journey where I was really trying to make what I do fit into mainstream. Mm-hmm. And so in one way it almost felt, you could say, oh, I went off course because I was trying to make everything fit in. I will tell you one story in a second, but at the same time, because as part of that, I did, I would look at a lot of what other people are saying, and the way they would present stuff. So what it did actually for me is it helped me to find mainstream language in order to express what I do.
I like that.
So, it's like, the idea of fitting in was never like, like square peg. I mean, it's peg in the hole kind of thing, like everybody else. No, I wasn't going to fit in. So if you look at, like, that pursuit from that point of view, then it was kind of like I spent a lot of time doing that. But what that journey to do that did was honed my language, if you will, to be able to say things that people can then feel comfortable with what I'm saying, even if they're not interested in what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't out here.
I love this on a couple of levels, because you were not wrong for looking out at what people were doing. So sometimes we go back, we're like, oh, I can't believe I did that. I was so wrong. I should have been in my individual. No, I did that. I learned something from that. I took it with me, and then I combined it with, and that's it. And I was just having a conversation this morning about that, that grace with yourself. There's no right versus wrong. It's just all learning. And I love that you say it that way, that it was just, okay, here's what I did.
Yeah. And I mean, it was a long time, and it was just like, there's, along with that, you get the frustration of not fitting in, and then you get the frustration of, why haven't I got this yet? And, like, there's a lot of stuff along the way. But, like, the example was, I would network with this local group. It was a breakfast meeting once a week. And, you know, it was the plumber and the real estate agent and actually real estate agents really like my work. But the handyman and what else was there? The mortgage guy, like, you know, all the very mainstream stuff, or, you know, carpet cleaner, like all this stuff, right? And it's just, and my theory was, if I can get them to understand what I do, even if they don't want it, that they can refer somebody to me, then I got it.
Yeah.
Should have had a VA. No. But, you know, but at the same, you know, while on one level, I mean, I actually did connect with a real estate agent, and we still do business together. So, you know, it wasn't a total waste, if you want to put it, you know, from that point of view, from a networking point of view. But, you know, it did a couple things for me. It, you know, it gave me lots of opportunity to say what I had to say in different ways. It gave me the tenacity that, you know, if you just do it long enough, you finally get it. And, you know, I mean, you still have relationships, you still build relationships with people, even if they're not, you know, when you're networking. I mean, obviously we want to be effective when we're networking, and you do want to go to the right group. But, you know, it was just another way for me to build those, if you will, networking skills, or being able to stand up and say what I do, and say what I do in a different way, and be okay that nobody gets it, you know, like that, you know, it's like, that sounds kind of counterproductive, but it's part of what gives you the confidence later on, right? And be able to tell the story, you know. It's like,
it's kind of like that idea of being, you know, a neuroscientist or something, right? You're not going to use all of these terms that nobody understands to explain it, right? You're just going to kind of give a condensed version, sort of, well, you know, I work with the brain, I do that, you know, right? Exactly. So the rest of it, now I might be like, ooh, I need to know more, or I might not be, but I get what you're doing. And so, you know, we just kind of want to look at it the same way. We all go so deep into what we do, but we just want to communicate it to others and not make a judgment about whether or not they're going to be interested.
Yeah, I mean, that's one piece of it. You know, one thing I did learn from network marketing was, you know, I was in holistic health. I was magnetics and far infrared and stuff like that. So, you know, what I saw how the people who had the greatest transformation, you know what I mean? They had extreme bad health, and then the product helped them have better health. You know, they were in reach of people who needed the same kind of transformation. So somebody who wasn't in that circle, it was different. You also got to see the people who already had, you know, what we call now as a following or a platform. They did well because they already had the know, like, and trust. So, you know, it's interesting just to be able to watch and see, look, this person was successful in this way, this person was successful in that way. And, you know, whatever path we walk, we take away something, not only for ourselves, but something to share with other people. So, for example, I can help somebody, you know, find their right client much faster than going to the networking event that's the wrong one. Let them practice in the one that's going to be more right people. Let's put it that way. You know. So, you know, hey, I can save you months of going to the
please
wrong
come learn
group.
from my mistakes.
Right, but that's part of it, right?
It. Yeah, for sure.
By trial and error. That's just how I'm wired, you know.
Or
and some people,
as I usually say, not mistakes, but experiences.
Exactly. That's exactly it, right? So so, you know, I think that's another thing for us to remember as we're on our path, is, you know, whatever we learn or we gain from it then becomes something to offer to somebody else. But it also guides us in our business, in the sense that that's where we niche down, just like our uniqueness are our experiences that we have. So, you know, it's the holistic practitioner who's had, health issues, a specific health issue, who's going to know the ins and outs of that particular health issue.
Yes. And I want to tap on that a little bit too, because I know for me, that was always a big one, the niching down. Like everybody, I would think I finally got it so specific, and I'd share it with someone. They're like, not specific enough. Like it was never specific enough. But this brings me back to your other point of individuality and owning your uniqueness, because I think that there was a fear of being seen. There was a fear of, again, that, mainstream, this was not mainstream stuff everybody was doing. And if I put it out there, people are going to know what I'm actually doing. They're going to judge, right? So there's all of that, which actually kind of brings me around to, I want to hear from you how you had the confidence to step into your uniqueness. Like, was there a situation, a story, or did it just kind of click one day?
Good question. You know what? It wasn't even about I think there's a couple of things. One is, I don't think it was so much about stepping into my uniqueness, because it's always been there. It was accepting my uniqueness.
Yes.
So it was the acceptance piece.
Yes, that's it.
Right? It's just accepting, this is the way I am. Like, I remember, so I work with numerology, right? And so every year has a different energy. And there was a 7-year, and a 7 year is a year of inner reflection. And it can be a time where we get these insights. And this one particular year, it's like, I'm sensitive and emotional. And it's always been considered a liability around me. And this one time, it just hit me as like, yes, I'm sensitive and emotional, and that's my gifts.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, I can see with this person, in expressing my emotions and sensitivity in this way, doesn't work for me. So what I was able to then do was to own that, okay, it doesn't work for me, so it's not in my best interest to express it or behave in that way or have these expectations in this particular relationship. But it gave me back my power, right? Yeah. Because it's my choice. And at the same time, it's like, if I didn't have the sensitivity I have, then I wouldn't pick up on the subtle energies that I do. Yeah. And I also wouldn't be able to hold the space with other people who were going through, that uncertainty, because I know what it feels like to be in uncertainty. You understand, like when you know what that experience is like, you can hold the space for that person, but you don't have to go down the hole with them. They have this so they don't have to, so that they know that they're heard. They know that we understand that, like, we're resonant. We have the resonance for it. So though we may not be living at that resonance, we still have that ability just to kind of go down into that vibration and hold the space for that vibration. So there's no bullshit. There's no second guessing. There's a sense of security and comfort. And
it's funny because so I always say to the person, oh my gosh, I know, please just trust me. It's okay. Just trust me, right? I know.
I know what that feels like. And it sucks the big time.
It does, but I'm telling you, one step in front of the other, it's okay over here. Come.
It's being able, so it is, it's a lot of it's about acceptance of who you are. And years ago, so I used to make flower and gem essences. I still do once in a while, but I was doing it more regularly. And I met this other lady, and she does flower essences. And it's, the process is very simple. At the end of the day, the process is very simple. So I didn't give it reverence. And she taught me to have reverence, that I've been chosen to be able to have the capacity to tune into the flowers, put them together, know how long to leave them, and combine them. And, you know, I tuned into astrological influences that I didn't even know anything about at the time.
Yeah.
And so she taught me to have reverence for not only myself, but for the essences, particularly for the essences, but for myself too.
Yeah.
And you know what? If there's a word that I think is really missing for us, is we don't have reverence for ourselves.
Yes.
Our purpose, you know, without making it all big and out of proportion.
Yeah.
Because reverence is like grace, right? Like it's
Yep.
just real genuine appreciation and gratitude all tied up in one little bow. And it, you know, you just can just sit with it, right?
I love it. I love it.
It's kind of like, you know, if you're not sure what that's like, it's kind of like, you know, when you just sit watching a young child, right? There's a reverence then, like, oh my God, like look at the, you know, there's a piece, there's a reverence of their beauty and their just their natural instincts, or their, you know, their natural joy and stuff. And so it's like bringing that back into your life and having reverence that whatever it is that your work is, or your gifts are, that, you know, or even just, you know, the situation you're going through in life. Like, you know, you can have reverence as, you know, a loved one is coming to the end of their life, and you can have reverence for that too, you know.
And even that reverence for, like, how you talked about the acceptance too, that because I think it is often the things that we dislike about ourselves that are probably our biggest gifts. Yeah. And so, you know, once we come into that acceptance and that reverence for it, and then even, yeah, like you're saying, because, you know, we tend to undermine ourselves because it comes easy for us, right? It's our purpose, so it comes easily, and that's why we're here. But it's like, well, anybody can do that. Well, actually, no, they can't. That's why they don't. You know, that's why you're here. But because it comes easy for you, you think, well, there's no great value to it. And I have seen that so many times. And it's just, I guess almost if you take that moment to think about, oh, what are the things that you like most about maybe your friends or family members, and like the things that you just love about them, then think about, what is it do you think that they love about you? And
I'm
that's
sorry, I can feel a sneeze. It's like, it's
no worries. But I think sometimes, you know, if you can give yourself that reverence, yeah, and not just, you know, diminish it because it is easy, it doesn't mean it's easy for everyone.
No. And, you know, I mean, if it's easier for us, then we can serve more people too, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know, and
exactly.
So it's when we do give it that reverence, it's a whole different like it brings, like, makes you feel lighter. And you know what, I think, you know, from the niching down piece, like, I was the same. It's just like, I don't want to niche down. I can do this for anybody. All I need to know is what angle they're, you know, what's the position they're at, and then bring it to it. But I also saw, like, as we were creating Aligning Clear, and I've partnered up with another woman. And so what we looked at was just seeing how, you know, part of her life path is about independence, and there's a piece for me for my own independence and leadership. And so coming together, we had to do it in a very clear way that neither of us, like, it wasn't going to be a codependent relationship. It was going to be an interdependent relationship, and an interdependent creation that was bigger than both of us, right? Like, neither of us could create it on our own. We both needed to bring our own individual strengths to the table in order to create it. Yeah. And so, you know, I think there's a lot more of that, is, you know, again, as we become stronger in our own uniqueness, it's like, I come to this relationship. So whether it's, you know, creating a program together, or whether it's a pop, you know, a relationship, or like whatever it is. It's like you and I right now. It's like we both come in our fullness.
Yes.
We're both able to express, and both of us, both hold the appreciation for differences. Now, I mean, some partnerships aren't going to work because the differences can be, like you might be might be too much of the same thing, or not, and whatever it is. But just this whole piece now of it's not coming together for this codependency. It's like, I can't exist, this can't exist. It's like, when you come together, this is me and my wholeness today, and tomorrow's going to be different, and the next day is going to be different, and this is yours. And what do we both want as a whole? As a result of it.
We come together to make something even bigger than ourselves, not we come together to fix each other or complete each other, or
So I think the more that we can start to do that, and you just realize, okay, so what are the in that process, it's like, what are the gifts and the differences between us? So both of us were intuitive, but she's particularly good at clearing the baggage, and I'm more of the breaststroke, opening the way forward. so they complement each other. I mean, and at the same time, there's a part that's exactly the same. We both hit the nail on the head. In two totally different ways.
Exactly. So I love it. And it's just such a testament to that building together, that collaboration, and that we don't need to be in competition with each other in order to be successful or to do the most good. I love that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's it too, right? Like, because that's where you see your individuality. Like, that's where that's where the niche and the difference is, right? Like, some people are fiery people, some people are fast, some people are fast decision makers, right? And like, I like to deliberate before I make a decision. I mean,
yes, I'm one of those as well.
Right? And so that's part of your niche and my niche.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not going to be working. I don't typically work with people who don't think about something, take action, like, and figure it out later. That's not who I am. And so I'm not going to, resonate with people like that. I mean, everything, you can get along with people, but they're not going to like my style.
Yes.
Right? The same as, somebody who wants a tight plan, they're not going to come to me for a tight plan. It's your plan. I'm here to give you the markers, right?
Give you some clarity and some guidance.
Exactly. So it isn't about, like, if somebody is like the goal setting type, like, that's not, I mean, we all have goals. It's not like that, but it's like, okay, now you've got to go. Now you're going to take the action. Like, that's not the kind of person I am.
Yes.
But at the same time, we all know that, everything has certain things that need to be done in order for things to be accomplished, right?
Of course. Yeah. So Judy, what nugget of wisdom do you want to share? Either something that came up for you as you went through the process, or that you wish you knew as you went through the process?
You know what? I think sometimes we think we're procrastinating. Sometimes we think we're waiting. That things aren't going fast enough. And I think giving yourself some grace around that is that would be.
I have to laugh because I've had like the same conversation earlier today, and it's just, so I just want the people listening to know that this is like double time, this message. So please listen. Right? What Judy is saying is very important because it has already come up. Yes.
Yeah, and to have more fun, right? To lighten up.
The feminine, it's the feminine, right? So, yes, the masculine is that take action, step A, step B, step C, but the feminine is still an action taking, even though it's that, okay, let me sink into my intuition and make sure I'm still in alignment on this path. Is this working, right? Because otherwise we're taking action on something that's not in alignment. We're just banging our heads on the brick wall.
Yeah.
So action doesn't have to mean grinding and, hustling and go, go, go. Sometimes action is the introspection. Sometimes action is the pleasure, the joy, right? Because that's when you're more magnetic. If you're just
absolutely
grinding all the time, nobody's attracted to that.
and I think that's, really it's the feminine energy. Like what do most people want? They want to receive more. They want to be filled. Like most people are hungry for something.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're going after, as opposed to sometimes we stand still and it comes to us. And I'm not saying we don't take action.
I was just saying, what I kind of think I see is like when we're taking that action, it's like we're running, right? And our fists are closed and we're running. So how can we receive anything when we're doing this? But when we stop, we breathe, we just open our palms. Now we're receiving. And now it just gets to float right into our laps. Oh, well, isn't that easy?
I know, eh? And I think that's it. I think, I mean, on the big grander scale of more feminine energy coming in, that's what we're learning so, I mean, at the end of the day, it's trust your intuition, trust your intuition and watch for the signs that are supporting you, like look at the results you get when you do.
Yeah.
And, from an intuition point of view, sometimes it's like you recognize it a day later, or sometimes you recognize it as like, oh, I was at the grocery store and I saw it and I didn't think I needed it, but I did, and that's how it comes through sometimes, right?
Yes.
Like, it saves you time. You don't have to go back and get it. That product is just sitting there showing you.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
I think we've all had that happen too. It's like, oh, it was even calling me. I saw it. Yes. And that's it. When we do those, when we start to like, almost like a game, trust those, like, you know what? I don't know if I need it or not, but I'm going to grab it because it called to me and who cares, right? And it's like a game that you can play. But the more you do that, the more you build that muscle of self-trust, of trusting that intuition. Yeah.
And it gets faster. Like you trust it gets faster, and you've got your answers right there. So you don't even have to burn the brain power. It's just like, oh, okay, I know, this is good. Right. So you start moving into more of that, and more ease, like more ease and grace at the end of the day. I mean, I think that's what most of us need more of, is just the ease and grace, and get out of the self-criticism. Like the self-criticism just eats up so much energy that we, if you just took the energy that's in self-criticism or listening to other people's judgments, whatever, however you channel that piece, if you or, oh, I should have done this, or I didn't do that, or I didn't get to this, like if we just take that energy and just put it into either stillness or action, like a lot changes.
I love that. Yeah, that's a lot of energy taking us in the exact direction we don't want to go. Exactly. Yeah, so let's just take that energy and use it to fuel what we want. Oh, I love that. That's gold right there. Judy, tell everyone where they can find you if they'd like to catch up with you.
The easiest is probably my website, which is judyo.ca. There's links there to, I am on Instagram, which is Judy O Clarity. And I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Facebook, but I am not a big I don't do a lot on Facebook. So probably the others are the best ways to reach me. But,
perfect.
Yeah. And everything starts with a conversation. So I'm not somebody off that you can't have a conversation with. And you're like, we start with a conversation.
We could definitely tell that from today. Yes, you are amazing. We love, yes, please go have a conversation with Judy, because I promise it will be a great one. I know that. And I'm trying to remember, I feel like somebody connected us and we had a conversation. We just had so much fun. I think we just kept gabbing, and then
yeah. Well, I can't remember. I think we found it. We connected on LinkedIn, but I can't remember what. I think so, but I can't remember what the actual connection was.
I tell you what, like I find some real gems on LinkedIn. You'd be surprised, but I really do. It's like there'll be a lot of like that, you know, that noise coming through, and then all of a sudden, again, like in the grocery store, there's that one that's like, you know,
yeah,
I need to talk to that person.
Maybe you wrote an article or something, or maybe I read an article of yours or something, and it just resonated, and
love it.
Here we are having another lovely conversation.
Yes, we are. Love it. Yes. Thank you so much, Judy, for being here, for chatting with us. I love it. Thank you for listening. And please reach out to Judy, reach out to me. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, keep pushing through because there is a spark in you.